talking about, Jake?
I've worked in the private sector. They expect results.
The Nation of Jake on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
All right, welcome to it.
Yes, have some.
Here we go. Friday, January 6th, year of our Lord 2023, partly sunny and 54 degrees. Days like today remind Bud the producer why he left Sweet Home Chicago. What's it doing in Chicago right now, Bud? What's the weather like there?
28 last I saw.
Suckers. Now, again, in mid-July, when the butt sweat is on, and it's 108 with a heat index of 114, Bud the producer is going to say, why did I come down here? And I'm going to remind him, on January 6th, 2023, it was partly sunny and 54. Damn near perfect for a January day here in Memphis in the Mid-South. All right. So I'm going to just let you know, today on the program, I am especially unprepared, even for a Friday. I usually don't do much preparation for a Friday show anyway, but today is January 6th. So you know what I've been doing? I've been going out and wrapping presents and getting cakes and streamers and decorating for my now 9-year-old's birthday. Olivia turns 9 today, which is unbelievable because just yesterday she was born, at least in my mind. I know the days are long and the years are short, as they say when you have kids. So happy birthday to my munchkin Olivia, who is not quite double digits, but that will forever be the significance of January 6th. All right, it goes Olivia's birthday, and then everything else. And then at the end of everything else, it's the Capitol mob attack. All right, I'm not going to commemorate that as some red letter date in history. I'd rather forget it. It was stupid. It was ill-advised. But right now, nobody's paying attention to the anniversary of the Capitol mob attack on January 6th because this whole speaker mess going on right now. I'm guessing that they've got like the 13th round of voting. I think it's over. I think there were 6 votes against Kevin McCarthy. He's getting closer. We'll get into more of that and coming up in just a few minutes. Also today on the program, there are more details on the alleged assault on a 17-year-old by Grizzlies superstar Ja Morant. We've got the Shelby County Sheriff's Office report. And the question must be asked here, is Ja Morant getting special treatment by the DA? Is this something where if you or I, lost our heads for a minute and then pounded on a 17-year-old, would we be charged? But because it's Ja Morant, he is not being charged. We will explore that a little bit here today on the program. We might, and I stress, we might talk about this Prince Harry stuff. I'm not a big fan of the royal family and all the gossip, but there are shocking revelations coming out from his memoir, which have leaked because they started selling it in Spain very early, before the release date. And now everybody's talking about it. And of course they're talking about it because they got a book to sell. They're glad they probably leaked it themselves over in Spain. We've also got all the Friday stuff. The karaoke night, Sir Sing-A-Lot will come on through. We'll also do some hate mail. Hey, and it's up to you what we do first. If you want to hear the karaoke night in hour number 1, then text me, 683-0989. But if you would rather get to the hate mail first, we could do that as well, 683-0989. That's the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Karaoke night or hate mail. Now, we've also got the regular stuff. Headlines, maybe a double dose of headlines. Also, Twitterverse. We'll see what is trending in the Twitterverse. Get an update on Damar Hamlin from the Buffalo Bills. All good news from the Buffalo Bills. Also, we'll play Name Drop. And I've also got something I'm bringing back for a special edition today, my children's book reviews. All right, I've got children, and I used to read them books all the time, some of the classics, some of the Dr. Seuss stuff. But there have been some books that I've read, and it made me kind of look around and see am I reading this correctly? Some themes that I don't quite agree with. I'm not talking about all the books that are being banned from libraries and, the genderqueer books. I'm talking more subtle stuff, subtle communism creeping into children's books. There's plenty of that going on, and I'm not here for that. So I'll give you a children's book review coming up in a little bit here in the Nation of Jake. All right, so I guess the story from Capitol Hill is that Kevin McCarthy still doesn't have the votes, but he's getting closer. From what I understand, McCarthy has now won 214 votes on the 13th ballot. If I have this right, I'm looking for the live updates. There's been some confusion as to how many votes he needs depending on who's on the floor and who is not. There have been some guys who aren't on the floor due to surgery or medical procedures, so it gets a little bit confusing. But as I see it now, there are 6 holdouts, the hardliners they're calling them. You've got Representatives Biggs, Boebert, Crane, Gates, Good, and Rosendale. All right, and there's a couple of those representatives I don't think can vote for Kevin McCarthy under any circumstance. Bob Good said he would not, under any circumstance, vote for Kevin McCarthy. And then I think the other two who can't really afford to change their votes would be Lauren Boebert, as high a profile as she has now, because she's good looking. That's pretty much the only reason. She gets up there and she rebuked Donald Trump, so she can't go back on her word. And the other guy is Matt Gaetz of Florida. I don't think that he can do it. Now, eventually, I do believe that Kevin McCarthy will be speaker. Maybe there will be some more concessions that are made, more backroom deals, and we'll see. But look, there have been a few of them. Like, I was surprised to see that Byron Donalds of Florida, he flipped his vote to Kevin McCarthy. Most of the 20 or so have flipped over. I think 15 or so. I guess 14 at this point, because you have these 6 holdouts. But I guess the numbers were, I don't know, it was a little bit fluid because you had some voting present and whatnot. So, again, you've got a handful of these holdouts, and they want what they want. I guess they want everything that the House Freedom Caucus presented in the first place, in the initial deal with Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. Now, going to one of these 6 holdouts, the hardliners, as they call them, Matt Gaetz. Say what you will about Matt Gaetz. I do think that he is one of the most legitimately funny congressmen in the House. He's a little bit of a grandstander. He's kind of like the Republican version of AOC. He's out front a lot. He's in a safe red seat there in Florida. But I do think that he's funny in the way that he presents things. He actually drafted a letter. I don't know if you guys saw this. Let's see, 3 days ago, on January 3rd, he accused Kevin McCarthy of squatting in the Speaker's office, seeing as how he's not the Speaker. And so he's followed up on his accusation of squatting. This is from Matt Gaetz, the House of Representatives, to the Honorable J. Brett Blanton, the 12th architect of the Capitol. Dear Mr. Blanton, on January 3rd, I reached out to your office regarding the pressing matter of Representative Kevin McCarthy's occupation of the Speaker of the House office in the U.S. Capitol. Your Director of Legislative and Public Affairs, Christine Leonard, has confirmed receipt, but we have yet to hear from you, and our question remains unanswered. As of this morning, January 6th, a Speaker from the 118th Congress has not been elected. After 3 days of voting and 11 ballots, no member can lay claim to this office. My questions remain. What is basis in law, House rule, or precedent to allow someone who has placed second in 3 successive Speaker elections to occupy the Speaker of the House office? And how long will he remain there before he is considered a squatter? Please write back by 5 p.m. today, as it seems Mr. McCarthy will not be elected Speaker of the House. Sincerely, Matt Gaetz, Member of Congress. So that's how you do it. There's a way to, I guess, improve or increase the value of your political brand. And this is a situation where guys like Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert, they're doing that kind of stuff. And again, I fully expect, maybe not by the end of this day, that Kevin McCarthy will be the Speaker of the House, but at some point, I think he will. And there's no other candidate that's being thrown out there. Jim Jordan is getting a few nominations. This Kevin Hern fella. Now we've got Matt Gaetz actually on the floor of the House, talking about that McCarthy doesn't have the votes, and he doesn't think he's ever going to get them.
Speaker, my colleague from California, Mr. Garcia, knows the incredibly high regard I hold him in. He is a patriot. I deeply, deeply admire him, but I must take some exception with some of the comments he made in his nomination of Mr. McCarthy. First, he said that Mr. McCarthy has earned the position. You only earn the position of Speaker of the House if you can get the votes. Mr. McCarthy doesn't have the votes today. He will not have the votes tomorrow, and he will not have the votes next week, next month, next year. And so one must wonder, Madam Clerk, is this an exercise in vanity for someone who has done the math, taken the counts, and is putting this institution through something that absolutely...
some boos, some harumphs. You know, you're talking about vanity. That seems to be like a glass house that you're living in there, Matt Gaetz. There was, you know, the reference in there to raising a bunch of money, you know, and I think that has also been echoed by, you know, Dan Crenshaw. We heard Dan Crenshaw yesterday. He was on with Neil Cavuto. And not only did Dan Crenshaw just kind of say the quiet part loud about how Kevin McCarthy was somehow owed this position, you know, through fundraising, you know, through supporting other candidates and through raising a bunch of money. But also, I don't think that Dan Crenshaw really understands, you know, why there's, you know, 20 or so congressmen who could hold up this process. Let's take a listen to Dan Crenshaw from yesterday.
Well, Byron Donalds is running. Byron Donalds is running, and you don't think he's a credible candidate?
He started 5 minutes ago. And no, he's not a credible candidate. He's a freshman who started 5 minutes ago. That's not running. He didn't raise hundreds of millions of dollars to win the Republican majority in multiple election cycles. No, that's not a credible candidate. But it's not loyalty to the man. It's loyalty to the rule of law that we abide by here. If you always set this precedent where a mere 20 people can just destroy the conference of over 200, then you're setting a terrible precedent, and they'll just keep taking scalps.
So yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have his mind, I think, wrapped around. He's insinuating the law is somehow being broken through these votes, and that's absolutely not true. And here's Matt Gaetz referencing what Dan Crenshaw had said.
They believe that Mr. McCarthy has earned the position of Speaker of the House because he raised $500 million to get Republicans elected.
All right, so now there's a bunch of yelling. People are yelling at Matt Gaetz for saying that. But Matt Gaetz, you know, think of what you want about the guy. He's absolutely right. Dan Crenshaw said it. Mr. Garcia said it on the floor. And Matt Gaetz is absolutely right here. Now, again, say what you will about this being grandstanding. It's inevitable that Kevin McCarthy will be the Speaker of the House. But look, when people are saying, well, you know, of course he earned it. He's the guy. He raised a bunch of money. Well, that's not how the Republic works. It's not based on how much money you raise. We'll talk more about this, kind of the concessions, maybe kind of what these quote-unquote hardliners want. There's some analysis about that coming up. Also, if you want to hear about the karaoke night, or if you want to hear from the karaoke night, be sure and text karaoke night to 683-0989, or if you prefer hate mail, and just text hate mail to 683-0989. Get things going on the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Coming up next, we've got some more details about this assault on a 17-year-old allegedly perpetrated by Ja Morant. All right, and why is he not being criminally held accountable for this? It's a civil suit. We'll get into these details and a whole lot more next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, it's up to you.
Yes, have some.
Karaoke night or hate mail? It's a familiar choice. Every Friday, most Fridays, it's up to you. 683-0989 on the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Your vote, I'm counting them right now. Karaoke night's way ahead, so if you like hate mail, you better get busy. Text in your preference to 683-0989. Appreciate you being here in the Nation of Jake. Beautiful Friday. Happy New Year, everybody.
Merry New Year!
And that's the last time we're doing it. Today is it. Is it for the Merry New Year. Then we're just going to have a regular year to you. This is not new. It's just here. It was inevitable. It should not have surprised anyone that it was on the way. Sometimes you're like, oh, my God, it's already the new year. Well, yeah you got to prepare yourself for it. They sell these calendars, you know. You got one on your phone. Okay, so let's see. Earlier this week, it was reported that Ja Morant is being sued in civil court for allegedly having slapped around a 17-year-old. Now we've got some more details on this. the Shelby County Sheriff's Office has released the assault report, which alleges that Grizzlies point guard and superstar with his own Nike shoe, Ja Morant, beat a 17-year-old boy in July of 2022. The report was obtained by the Commercial Appeal. It was filed on July 26th by the teen's mother, who told deputies that the incident took place earlier that day. According to the report, the victim told deputies he was assaulted while playing basketball at Morant's house. The victim alleges Morant got angry and jumped him. Those are the words in quotation marks. Jumped him, striking him in the head and face with a closed fist. He said he was knocked to the ground by the pro basketball star, who continued to strike him with a closed fist. The boy told deputies that a second man, whose name was redacted in the report, also began to assault him, also striking him with a closed fist. The victim told deputies that he did not lose consciousness and refused medical transportation from the house. Deputies noted that a large knot was seen on the teen's head. On Tuesday, a lawsuit was filed against the professional basketball player regarding the alleged attack. Edelman Law Firm, which is representing the 17-year-old plaintiff, released a statement. Our law firm represents the minor plaintiff in a civil lawsuit filed against Demetrius Jamal Morant and Devontae Pack. Today we learned of TMZ's report about the lawsuit. In order to protect the privacy rights of our client, as well as the integrity of the judicial system, we thought it best to make an official statement. This is a tragic situation involving an assault and battery by two adults on a minor during a basketball game at the home of Mr. Morant. Our client's mental and physical well-being, now and his future, are our priorities. We do not intend to make any further comments on this pending lawsuit and request that no further efforts be made to contact our client or his family. Now, the DA's office is saying, we looked into it, and we don't think there's a crime was committed here. And if you want to look at it one of two ways, you could look at it like this. Some young men got in a scuffle during a basketball game. I mean, you wouldn't normally, call the cops. You wouldn't be filing reports. You would just go and, hey, I scuffled with that guy because he threw a ball at my face or whatever it was. But because it's Ja Morant, you have to look at it in context. Because it's Ja Morant, and he is a rich NBA star, there's some money there. There's some money at play here. And also, the other side of it is this. It's Ja Morant. Could you imagine if Steve Mulroy, the DA, decided to investigate and file criminal charges against Ja Morant for something like this? And if this was just a couple of nobodies, we wouldn't hear about it. But because it's Ja Morant, and you can look at it either way, but look, if a 17-year-old kid, if he gets beaten by two grown men who are over the age of 18, again, you get into, what does the law say here? And there were visible injuries, knots on heads or scrapes or scratches. You got to give it a look, right? Or wrong? Or no? Those are the details, the latest. I don't know if it'll go anywhere. Probably not. And they were scuffling over a basketball game. You got to fight. So what? All right, welcome back to it.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake, News Talk 98.9, the Roar of Memphis. It's Friday. We usually do two things on Friday. It depends on you guys to determine the order in which we do them. If you want to vote for the karaoke night, we'll do that at the end of the hour, or we can do hate mail. It depends on what you want. Now, the karaoke night came out strong. We've had folks say, hey, it wouldn't be Friday without the karaoke night, and I agree. He's very popular, is Sir Sing-A-Lot, and we want to make sure he gets his due airtime on the program. But what comes first? What do you want to hear this hour? And so we've also had a nice little surge there by the hate mail. But it's pretty close right now on the Rick's Powder Coating text line, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm still seeing more karaoke night, though.
Yeah, I think the karaoke night, he's got a following. Look, karaoke night, if you were to, vote for him, he would get the 218 votes, I think. Maybe somebody. It could be Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, this Andy Biggs fella from Arizona. Somebody needs to go ahead and nominate the karaoke night for speaker. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, have the Sir Sing-A-Lot be the Speaker of the House? I don't think he'd accept. He's a warrior. He's not some administrator. So we'll see what happens here in a little bit, but it's up to you. 683-0989. All right. I want to get into just, how all this is reported on. Right now, as it stands, is it something that is fluid and we are following it? There have been 13 rounds of voting, and Kevin McCarthy, who is going to be the inevitable Speaker of the House at this point, I think, he's short. He's short 4 votes. There are 6 holdouts, Republican holdouts, so he needs 2 of them, I think. 2 of them, is that right? He's 6 votes. He needs a couple more votes to get to the 218. I guess he needs 4. But there are at least 3 of these holdouts, these quote-unquote hardliners, who probably can't flip their vote. I mean, he's already had 15 of the 22 some odd votes go his way. And so there's these, 6 or 7 or what, it just depends on the vote. It depends on the day, right? So essentially you've got Kevin McCarthy. He's got to make some more concessions, or, you're going to start hearing from constituents and somebody's got to change their votes. Well, who's it going to be? Who's going to be? Lauren Boebert, Andy Biggs, Matt Gaetz? I don't think he can change his vote after some of the things he's been saying on the House floor. There was a pretty funny situation earlier. I believe this guy named Rosendale. Rosendale, he was making a big show of things. I guess he was out on the House floor. They were taking votes. They were taking the roll call, and he screamed out his vote as Kevin. Which Kevin? Let's take a listen.
Rosendale.
Kevin.
Hearn.
Oh, yeah, all the groans from the other Republicans. They're like, ha, ha, he's laughing. He thought that was hilarious. Go yell out Kevin, and he starts looking around like, ha, 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 which Kevin? And he's like, Hearn. And then he thought he would get a big laugh. Instead, he got groans. All right, so the way this is being covered is pretty interesting. I mean, on Fox News, it's pretty much straightforward as far as what is going on. But I've noticed that you've got CNN. I was getting all the updates from CNN yesterday because I get Fox and CNN updates on my phone. They kept on throwing in all these adjectives. Kevin McCarthy suffers humiliating defeat. Whereas on Fox News, it was it goes to another round. He does not get the 218 votes he needs. But it just goes to kind of show how, the news is biased one way or the other, depending on, what news you consume. So I'm reading this from CNN. I like to read all kinds of sources. So they often have this analysis. They got these political analysts. So then they call these folks hardliners. Now, these are the hardliners. That's a way to call them extremists without calling them extremists. What do these hardliners want? ? Here's what they've said. This is an analysis by Zachary B. Wolf, who I do not know anything about Zachary B. Wolf, but this is what somebody who say, here's about what's going on. They might run into this, so they would get a quick explainer on the situation. I like to view this more as, how is CNN communicating this information? So it's a bit meta. Here we go. From Zach Wolf over there at CNN. It's a very small minority of a slim majority that's kept the House from moving forward and is on the cusp of derailing Representative Kevin McCarthy's bid to become Speaker. First point of order in this analysis. They don't speak for the majority of Republicans. The 20 anti-McCarthy Republicans who so far derailed his bid to become House Speaker represent less than 10% of the House GOP. They aren't the entirety of the Freedom Caucus. The hardliners are less than half of the ultra-conservative, ultra-MAGA wing of lawmakers, which, again, you can kind of see where the bias is over at CNN, particularly with this Zachary Wolf fellow, when they are using words like ultra-MAGA. Because ultra-MAGA is something that the president came up with as a derisive term to describe these conservatives in the House of Representatives. So the very fact that an analyst from CNN would use that kind of language just to describe them in a write-up of the situation, it just goes to show you how CNN views this. They aren't the entirety of the Freedom Caucus. They are sort of gaining support at the time he wrote this. Now, today is different. There aren't 20 who are holding out. There's only 15 who are holding out. Or I'm sorry, 15 flipped. There are 6 who are holding out. So they are not gaining support. The hardliners also don't speak with one voice, says Zachary Wolf. He said, if you break down the 20 from yesterday, the conservative Republican Representative Ken Buck of Colorado said, Buck has been viewed as a possible defector before this week, and he made clear that patience with these votes is waning. He suggested McCarthy's deputy, Representative Steve Scalise of Louisiana, a possible consensus speaker who could speak to 3 varieties of the 20 anti-McCarthy Republicans. He says, for some, it's personal. For some of these hardliners, it's personal. There are a few of the original 20 that just aren't going to vote for Kevin McCarthy, but would vote for somebody else. The key question is whether that block of never McCarthy House Republicans is larger than the 4 votes McCarthy can afford to lose. Look, there's 6 of them who are right now never McCarthy, and that's enough to hold it up. So what's going to happen? More concessions? A backroom deal? What's going to happen? I know that there's at least a few who probably should not or cannot, under any circumstance, because of how visible they've been, vote for Kevin McCarthy. It's going to be problems for these folks. Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, Bob Good. These are folks who said, we listened to Matt Gaetz earlier. We'll take another listen. He says he doesn't have the votes, and he's not going to have the votes. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. I mean, that is, in no uncertain terms, that he will not, and he cannot vote for Kevin McCarthy. He can't be one that flips. Let's take a listen to Matt Gaetz once again.
Speaker, my colleague from California, Mr. Garcia, knows the incredibly high regard I hold him in. He is a patriot. I deeply, deeply admire him. But I must take some exception with some of the comments he made in his nomination of Mr. McCarthy. First, he said that Mr. McCarthy has earned the position. You only earn the position of Speaker of the House if you can get the votes. Mr. McCarthy doesn't have the votes today. He will not have the votes tomorrow, and he will not have the votes next week, next month, next year. And so one must wonder, Madam Clerk, is this an exercise in vanity for someone who has done the math, taken the counts, and is putting this institution through something that absolutely is avoidable?
I don't know if he's right about him not having the votes tomorrow or next week or next year, but by him saying that, he can't be the one to flip, can he? I mean, he's already at 15. 15 have flipped to McCarthy, including Byron Donalds and a few others. I mean, most of the others have, right? But who's it going to be out of the 6? There are 6 holdouts. Who's going to flip? I think he needs 4. He needs 4 out of the 6, right? Does that sound right? Unless the numbers change because of who is on the floor and who isn't. But at least 3 of these folks are going to have to flip. Andy Biggs, Lauren Boebert, Eli Crane, Matt Gaetz, Bob Good, and this Rosendale character who thinks he's funny out on the floor yelling, Kevin Hearn. So he doesn't seem like he's going to be, an easy flip there. So if this Freedom House caucus or this wing of the Freedom House caucus can get everything they want, it's going to have to be somebody not named Matt Gaetz and not named Lauren Boebert, I don't think, because they've just been too visible. I don't think they can go back on it without having to eat some serious crow, which, again, is politics. It's ugly. I mean, when do we hold these folks to everything that they say? Almost never. Back to the analysis from Zach Wolf at CNN. I just think this is interesting, the way that some people see the world versus the way that I see it or you see it or other news organizations and outlets see it. We've got that. It's personal. Let's see. We've got others in the contingency. They want specific changes. They want changes in the rules, and these are the concessions we're talking about. They want changes in how many people it takes to oust a speaker. Also, seats on rules committees. There are also a lot of procedural things, and they're not unimportant. All right, I get it that you hold out until you get what you want, and a lot of the procedural maneuvers, it might be kind of dry, might be kind of arcane and esoteric, and they are very important, but I'm not sure how important it is for this Congress. The 118th Congress is going to be controlled by Republicans in the House, but in the Senate, you've got Democrats. In the White House, you've got Democrats. You've got a Democrat. Well, you got Biden and Harris. So really, this Speaker of the House, his old job is going to be to obstruct. It's not like you've got a Republican Senate that's going to work with the House to pass legislation and then force the president to either sign it or veto it, because that's powerful, and that's when you really need those procedural rules in place. Now, with this Congress, it's not as important, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's irrelevant. I'm saying it's just not as important. I mean, the fight should be for another day, but maybe the fight today can aid them in the fight tomorrow. Say if in 2024 the Republicans were to get, I don't know, hell, they could get control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. It's all up for grabs. It's very likely the Republicans will have the Senate in 2024. If you look at the Senate map, it's very favorable to Republicans with how many seats are being defended versus how many Democrats have to defend. So it's an interesting exercise. Not only what's going on with Kevin McCarthy now losing the 13th round, gaining support. It's all but inevitable he will be the speaker, depending on who you listen to. I mean, it's trending in his direction. There really hasn't been another candidate put up that's getting any kind of support to the level where it was a true challenge. Jim Jordan's name keeps getting thrown out. Byron Donalds, hell, he's voted for McCarthy. He's already flipped. Steve Scalise's name is put out there, but I don't think he has a whole lot of interest. Hell, he's voting for McCarthy. So we'll see. Again, I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll go a 14th round today. Now, this is something that you got to keep an eye on, and we will keep an eye on it both here online and Bud the producer back in the studio. I'm sure he's got a live feed going of one of the news channels. Which news channel you got in there? Fox News, as we are a Fox News radio station, I'm sure. Are you seeing anything now, Bud? What are they doing on TV now? They're just, the talking heads are just chopping it up, right?
Yeah, and they're also jumping back to that Idaho story. That guy's being going through the court system there. They moved him back to the States. So that's the other big story on Fox right now.
Yeah, that's all over the Twitterverse as well, and we'll get into that. But I do want to hear from you, 683-0989. If you've got anything, any kind of insight, maybe you agree or disagree with, what you're hearing about the speaker race there in the House of Representatives. Maybe it's not inevitable. I mean, do you think that Kevin McCarthy will be the speaker? I think it's a foregone conclusion that he will. It's just when and how, who's going to flip. We'll get into that if you want. Also, we do have to settle one thing here very soon, in the next few minutes, actually. You've got about 5 more minutes to vote on what we want to do first here, the karaoke night, or do we want to rip open that hate mail sack? 683-0989. 683-0989 as the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Karaoke night or hate mail, what's it gonna be? We'll find out next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right.
Yes, have some.
It's all up to you. 683-0989. 683-0989. Voting is now closed, at least for this round of voting. Is it going to be the karaoke night, or will it be hate mail? Bud the producer, you are manning the Rick's Powder Coating text line. What have the citizens voted?
Well, so it's karaoke night, more votes.
Okay.
But we have a weird one. Blair has some hate mail for the karaoke night. He's saying no to karaoke night, please no. So I don't know how to count that.
Well, that's like a hate mail karaoke night mashup. This is not the place to send hate mail to the karaoke night. Sir Sing-A-Lot does not have access to the Rick's Powder Coating text line. I do believe that karaoke night has an email address, though, and I believe it's something like karaokenightlife@gmail.com. And he's got his own YouTube channel. He's got his own Twitter account. So if you want to go launch any kind of hate campaign at the karaoke night, Sir Sing-A-Lot, then you just do that over there. Just go find karaoke night on Twitter and Facebook, and then you can tell them how much you hate him. All right. I don't think. Look, we want to vote for things here in the Nation of Jake. All right. If you want to vote for hate mail, then fine. If you want to vote for the karaoke night, that's fine. But we're not voting no karaoke night. Blair, you need to. What is? Oh, dude, he's got like crying emojis. What did the karaoke night do to Blair? What's the story, Blair? What did he do to you? Listen, I don't know what he does. Saturday through Thursday. He comes by here on Fridays. What he does in his spare time, I don't know, did he pillage you? Did he pillage Blair? Do you think Sir Sing-A-Lot is the pillaging type? Bud, do you know what happened? What's
the saying? He's gonna rape the fields and pillage the women?
Okay, yes, and rode off on the women. Okay, tell you what, we are going to honor the people of the nation of Jake who have voted in favor of the karaoke night, all right? I am the karaoke night, medieval interpretations of your modern rock and roll incantations. Lift me up with harp and lyre, and all hail to me, the karaoke night. All right, this is the way it worked. We have a selection from Sir Sing-A-Lot, the karaoke night himself. Now, he has taken a song you may know, a classic rock song, usually a very famous, a big hit, and he translates it with his own medieval night speak. All right, so if you can decipher what the lyrics are and put it together, then you text us here in the Nation of Jake on the Rick's Powder Coating text line at 683-0989, and then you get, for your trouble, validation. That's what you get. It's a game we play with the karaoke night. He brings us his talent, and we try to decipher what the hell this guy's talking about. So, without further ado, here is our selection from Sir Sing-A-Lot, from the karaoke night. You listen. What song is he singing? Mine guardians revealed the meaning of life. Thereby I aged to become he about whom they cautioned. Declared my mates a horde of scoundrels, ordering, get thee to a barber and find gainful employment. Get thee to a barber and find gainful employment. Cleanse your character and not be unkempt. Take control as our firstborn Sir Robert. Why not get thee to a barber and find gainful employment? Oh, I don't know. That's kind of a deep cut, I believe. I think I know it. Bud, you got any ideas?
I got nothing at the moment.
Get thee to a barber and find gainful employment. That might be tough for some folks, but if you know what that song is, 683-0989, 683-0989. Might be a little niche for some people, but I think it's pretty clear once you decipher what he's talking about there. Get thee to a barber. We'll get the answer on what that song is in a little bit. I'll give you a chance to think it over and send in your guesses here on the Rick's Powder Coating text line. Again, 683-0989. Coming up in a little bit, I've had my nephew and his brother and sister. My nieces and nephews were in town for an extended visit over the holiday. And Walt is the middle kid. He's 4 years old. We have kind of the Chronicles of Walt going on. I told the story the other day. Walt got up disoriented, didn't know where he was. He was upset, and he had peed himself. Well, kind of the same thing happened last night without the pee. So that was an improvement, in the Chronicles of Walt. I sat down with Walt. He asked me to read him a book. I said, all right, go grab a book, and I'll read a book to you. But he brought me this awful book, a book that I cannot stand. And so that got me thinking, I think I want to bring back the children's book reviews. So, look, children's books, a big part of my, last decade of life, seeing as how my kids are 11 and 9 years old. 9 years old today is Olivia. But this book, this one book, I'll tell you about it a little bit later. Awful story. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know who bought it and brought it into my house, but it's got some terrible messages in this children's book. And we'll do that a little bit later. But for now, what song was the night singing? Get the answer and some headlines next right here in the Nation of Jake.
Jake, where'd you get those boots?
But he's got meat between his ears.
Yeah.
The Nation of Jake on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
All right.
Yes, have some.
Yes, have some. Friday in the Nation of Jake. A beautiful Friday. 54, 55 degrees or so. That's your high for the day. You had some sun peeking through, some big puffy clouds. This is it, man. This is great weather for January. You put on a hoodie or you get outside and do some stuff. Maybe you get a little bit too warm. You take that hoodie off. It cools you off. You're good to go. This is it, man. This is the January weather that you love. It's still going to get cold again. Don't worry about that. It's going to get... February is the coldest month, man. That's when the freeze was last year. Of course, you had the debacle over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day here, but that was a generational freeze. There's going to be a good old regular seasonal freeze coming up next month. All right, this hour in the Nation of Jake, we will see what is trending in the Twitterverse. Got a very positive update on Damar Hamlin, the safety for the Buffalo Bills, who suffered a cardiac arrest on the field, and subsequently the game was canceled. I guess we can also talk about going forward. What will be the protocols for NFL games when guys suffer serious injuries like that? And we'll get into that there in the Twitterverse coming up in about half an hour. Also, because the karaoke night was our big winner for hour number one, that means we'll do some hate mail a little bit later this hour. That's the way it works. It's not an either or. It's which one you want first. You guys voted for the karaoke night. And so let's go ahead and wrap that on up. I asked you to listen to the karaoke night's selection. Sir Sing-A-Lot brought it to you, and we will listen to a sampling of it now.
Take thee to a barber and find gainful employment. Cleanse your character and not be unkempt. Take control as our firstborn Sir Robert. Why not get thee to a barber and find gainful employment?
All right, and Bud the producer, you had no idea. You were clueless on this one.
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right, we had a lot of you guys got that one right. If you're a big fan of George Thorogood, you'll know this one.
Get a haircut and get a real job. Get a haircut and get a real job. Clean your act up and don't be a slob. Get it together like your big brother Bob. Why don't you
get a haircut and get a real job? Yeah. You know, one bourbon, one whiskey, one beer. That's a big George Thorogood hit. Bad to the Bone, obviously, is a huge hit. I Drink Alone, but then you also have to go with a Haircut by George Thorogood. Now, that was when he was George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Before, it was George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers, which I always wondered, did they, destroy all of Delaware? Because they were the Delaware Destroyers, so they wrought havoc all over Delaware. Delaware was destroyed, and so they moved on just to be General Destroyers. I've never really gotten any clarity on that. So if you were one of the many who got it right, congratulations. Sir Sing-A-Lot approves of your guessing and guessing correctly. He loves it when you get it right. Sometimes he even loves it when you get it wrong. All right, let's get into some local headlines here. Oh, what a train wreck. You got to turn off the George Thorogood before you start hitting the news stinger, right? Good Lord. This is just a disaster on a Friday. Let's go with the news here. Headlines from around Memphis and the Mid-South. Murder suspect charged in death of missing U of M student. Of course, this was a story some weeks ago. We have charges have been made against the man who was accused of killing a U of M student who went missing a day before his graduation last month. Police have charged 22-year-old Vincent Patterson in the death of Barshay Wilson, who was found dead in Arlington on December 12th. His body was located near a burned car. Police said he also had been shot. According to a police report, officers initially received a call from Wilson's mother. He had left home saying he was going to a party with friends that Friday. However, she later received a call from his friend saying he walked out of her home and had not returned. Another friend told police that Wilson had been at her apartment approximately 15 minutes before he received a phone call, and he walked outside. She said he looked outside shortly after, but Wilson was gone. His car was still parked outside. The friend explained to investigators she was able to track his phone location. It showed that he was on the interstate near Arlington, but friends looked in the area and couldn't find anything. On Friday, Vincent Patterson was charged with first-degree murder, especially aggravated robbery, and tampering with evidence. Thankfully, he was not released of his own recognizance as other first-degree murderer suspects had been earlier this week. We've got, this is an odd story. A family says a missing man's body had been in the morgue for more than a month. A Cordova family said they found out their loved one had died only after his body sat at a Shelby County morgue for over a month. On January 5th, the family of William Williams, they call him Bill Williams, reached out to the media to report that he had been missing since November 12th. Hours later, they found out that his body had been at the morgue since November 16th. The family said that Williams was found dead at an extended stay in Cordova, and then I guess he had an extended stay at the morgue. Authorities told the family that they didn't have any information to notify the next of kin. Williams' family believes there was foul play involved in his death. This is an ongoing investigation. We've got one of these situations where it's not a violent crime, but this is a pretty big one. An Amazon employee admits to stealing $300,000 worth of merchandise from the facility. An Amazon employee has been charged after admitting to stealing more than $300K worth of Amazon merchandise from the warehouse in Raleigh. According to court records, Devin Thomas allegedly stole Apple and Samsung phones, phone accessories, Nintendo and other gaming consoles, computer parts, watches, and jewelry. I mean, $300,000, that's a lot of merchandise. Thomas gave a written statement to Amazon Loss Prevention, stating he made a choice of taking items away from customers and outside the building. He had been employed by Amazon since November of 2020. Thomas was arrested earlier this week and charged with theft of property over $250,000. You know what I'm not seeing? I'm not seeing the bond information. I usually read through these headlines, whether it's from Channel 3, Channel 5, Channel 13, Channel 24, or Daily Memphian or Commercial Appeal. Usually, in the past, it's odd. They would always tell you that they were released and what bond they were released on. But I'm not seeing this. You would think that a guy who stole over $250,000 worth of merchandise, and he says he stole it from the company and the customers. So this must have been like outgoing orders. These are people who ordered these things and never got them. So it's not like this is a victimless crime. Oh, if you steal from Amazon, they're $1 billion, $1 trillion company, that there's no victim here. Stealing is stealing. Stealing's wrong, no matter who you steal from. You steal from an individual, like the guy yesterday, the story where he's a bank teller and he stole $28,000 from a 83-year-old woman, took her debit card and started charging stuff on it. Yeah, I think that guy got out on like $300 bond, by the way. At least that's what Jeff Brightwell reported this morning on Memphis Morning News. Like $300 bond. And I think that, I don't know if that was the what he had to pay or he had to pay 10% of it. So I think he had to like pay $29.10 to get out of jail after having stolen some $28,000 from a sweet old 83-year-old woman. It's ridiculous. So, but I'm not seeing the bond information on a lot of these stories now. I wonder if that is because there's some sort of directive or the information's not being made as accessible as before. That could be it, because people start raising eyebrows, going, wait a second, you can steal $250,000 and just walk free for $29.10 or whatever it is. And it's pretty bogus. Now we got more bad decisions being made. Man punches cop at Memphis Elementary School. An argument at an elementary school left an officer with minor injuries and a parent in custody, according to the Memphis Police Department. MPD said it happened around 10 a.m. on Thursday, January 5th. An irate parent, 39-year-old Daniel Weber, was at Graham Elementary School acting outrageous, according to an arrest affidavit. Police said Weber then closed his fist and threatened to hit the officer before backing away from the officer and into the street. The Memphis police said that the officer said, "You can't be in the street." He tried to grab him and pull him out of the street, and that is when Weber punched the officer twice. Memphis police used a CEW. Bud, you know what a CEW is?
Not off the top of my head.
An electrical weapon, I guess, some sort of taser. I don't know. Maybe look up what a CEW is. They used it twice to subdue Weber. Weber was taken into custody, but then began kicking officers and the electrical weapon was used again. School officials told police that Weber became angry the morning before after a school security officer would not allow him to see his child during hours when seeing the child was not permitted. Which, look, they should make it easy to go in and access your child if you need to. But that said, if there are rules, are rules. I mean, maybe he was a little bit pushy. Weber was charged with aggravated assault on a first responder, criminal trespassing, disorderly conduct, and resisting official detention. Again, no bond information. None. Don't know. Usually we get it. What you got, CEW?
Conducted energy weapon. It's a device that delivers low amperage electrical current to the target, so it sounds like a form of a taser.
Yeah. What'd you say it was again?
Conducted energy weapon.
Okay. That sounds like something out of a movie. Doesn't it? Conducted energy weapon. Energy weapon. What is it? Taser. Here we go. We got some more attacks here. This is no good. A man fights Domino's employee, slashes tires over pizza order. Look, man, when you're hungry, I get it. And if they get your order wrong or your pizza's late. One time I ordered a pizza. It didn't show up for 2.5 hours. I was angry about that. Not slash your tires angry. Here we go. A man is facing assault and vandalism charges all over a pizza order, according to MPD. They said it started Friday, November 18th. 41-year-old Richard Johnson, old Dick Johnson, ordered a pizza online from Domino's on Summer Avenue. Police said Johnson picked up his order and then returned to the store telling an employee that his order was wrong. The employee told him that the store policy does not allow them to do returns in the store for online orders. That would make me a bit frustrated as well. I can see why he would be angry, and he did become angry, did Dick Johnson. He threw the pizza at a cooler, walked out of the store, and then returned to attack the employee as he cleaned up the pizza. Other Domino's workers broke up the fight, and the man left and called to have another pizza delivered to him. But 2 hours later, employees said they saw Johnson outside of the store slashing tires on Domino's workers' vehicles. That's not cool. Authorities said that they matched the number used to place the online order to Johnson and saw Johnson slashing the tires on surveillance video. Listen, Dick Johnson, Dick move. He was slashing people's tires. You don't know whose tires they were. You don't know the guy who got the wrong order. These are people who work, they're delivering pizzas, man. A set of tires is going to cost you $700. That's a lot of pizzas to deliver, man. All right. And finally, do we have time for it? An Arkansas man has been charged after a body was found in his backyard from across the river. A man has been charged after a body was found buried in St. Francis County, Arkansas. Jonathan Paulman, age 31, is charged with first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. I guess not giving it a proper burial. The St. Francis County Sheriff's Office said that the body was found buried behind a camper on SFC 410 in Forest City after investigators acting on a tip executed a search warrant on December 30th. Paulman's neighbor says he heard of suspicious activity on the property before. The body's been sent to the state lab to determine the identity and exact cause of death. Paulman is being held in the St. Francis County Detention Center. His bond is set at $250,000. Hold on a second. The DA over in St. Francis County is releasing the bond information, and it's been printed by our friends at WREG. Where's all the bond information on the Shelby County guys? That's what I want to know. 683-0989, 683-0989. We got Masters of the Twitterverse coming up. I also want to share with you the gifts that I have bought for my 9-year-old daughter, Olivia, on this January 6th, her birthday. I want to see if they're any good. If you were a 9-year-old, would you like these gifts? I'll tell you what they are next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, so.
Yes, have some.
It's January 6th, everybody. January 6th, of course, a red letter date in my personal history, as my younger of two daughters was born on the early hours of January 6th. All right, that's forever. 1/6/2014 will be when my Olivia was born. And it was a wild night, man. It was crazy. I was living separate from my wife. We weren't separated like legally or anything. I was in between jobs. I was moving back and forth, Atlanta to Memphis, Memphis to Atlanta, pretty much all my life. I was in between one of those jobs. And I had to get from, I guess at the time, Memphis to Atlanta. And this is embarrassing, but I had taken my young nephew, not Walt. Walt was not yet born. I was taking Max to go see Thor. We went to go see Thor: The Dark World. I'm in the middle of the movie with my young nephew, and I get a call from my wife. She says, yeah, I'm going into labor. And I'm like, all right, well, last time this took like 2 days. So I got some time here. She's like, no. She's like, no, that's not the way it works the second time around. And so I was like, okay, all right. So I did what any husband would do. I sat there with my nephew and we finished the movie. And then I took him home, and then I drove to Atlanta, and it started snowing, and I missed my exit. Oh, but I got there in time, and that's what matters. And that was the night Olivia was born. Not July 6th, January 6th. Who am I? Joe Biden? Did you see that clip? Oh, yeah. Joe Biden was talking about January 6th, and he called it July 6th. Unbelievable. I'll have that clip for you here in a second. Hell, I'll have it for you right now. Let's go. Joe Biden.
If I can halt for a second and just say to you, the impact what happened on July the 6th had international repercussions beyond what I think any of you...
July the 6th. You know, they want to pound in your head January 6th, January 6th. And he gets up in front of God and everybody and calls it July 6th. Just leave it to Joe Biden. It was January 6th. But for me, it's my kid's birthday. And so we went out, we got her some gifts. Do you guys know what Squishmallows are? Bud, do you know what a Squishmallow is?
Isn't that like a pillow or a stuffed animal?
Yes. Yeah, it's a stuffed animal. It's like the new Beanie Babies. They all got names. I don't know if they're as collectible. I don't know if there's a Squishmallow craze. But there's one in my house. We got like 20 of these things. So, of course, she likes them.
It's like
so it made
modern
it very
Beanie
easy.
Babies?
Yeah, well, look, they're just giant stuffed animals, and then they range down to the small stuffed animals, but they're very squishy. And so they're called Squishmallows. So we got her one of those. The one thing, though, that I'm being questioned about right now is I bought my daughter a toaster. Partially because our toaster just died, and I needed a new toaster. So I went out and got one, and it's got like some sort of avocado toast, a recipe on the side, and she loves avocados. So I figured, you know what I'll do is just give her something else to open, but it's for the house. I don't know if that's something that you guys do. I like to have a little fun with the kids, mess with their heads a little bit. So I got a Squishmallow and a toaster and some other crap. She likes squishy stuff. So I got some of those stress balls filled with Orbeez or whatever it was. But it's January 6th. That's my kid's birthday. It's not stupid about the guy with the fuzzy horned hat on or any of the stuff that went on, the shenanigans with that Capitol attack. Happy birthday, Olivia. The hell with the Capitol. All right, coming up.
Yes, have some.
We got some hate mail. And I got some hate mail for you. You guys love the hate mail. I don't know what it is about the hate mail that's so popular, but on Fridays, if we skip hate mail, we get a bunch of hate mail about why didn't you do hate mail, you a-hole? So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll pick out some hate mail. I'm already getting the hate mail for having bought a toaster for my 9-year-old daughter. It was in addition to a bunch of other stuff. The kids we just had Christmas, and she got a ton of stuff. And then her birthday comes up January 6th, and we got her a ton of stuff. She got a Squishmallow. She got a sweater. She got a shirt with some avocados on it. She got like some squishy balls. She likes squishy stuff, y'all. And so because I needed a toaster, I figured, hey, I'm here. I'm at the Target. I'll get this Oster toaster, and then I'll wrap it up, and it'll be something else. She'll have the joy of unwrapping a sizable box, and she's allowed to use the toaster. She probably uses it more than anybody. Hell, she's the one who broke the old toaster. She stuck a Pop-Tart in it, and the Pop-Tart, Bud, you ever put a Pop-Tart in the toaster and the structural integrity of the Pop-Tart is compromised and it falls apart in the toaster?
Yeah.
And you get the ooze all in the toaster.
You just turn the toaster upside down and dump it out.
I know, I did that, but then it left some residue. Pop-Tart guts. You know how hot that gets? The inside gets way hotter than the outside. But it ruined the toaster. The toaster won't toast anymore. It won't stay shut. So I had to go buy a new toaster. It's her fault. And she gets to open it. But I already got people saying, how could you that's like getting your wife an ironing board. What's wrong with that? 683-0989 if you've got strong opinions about my birthday
my
gifts
question,
for my
Jake,
sweet daughter. Go ahead.
Is she going to be policing the toaster now, going to the other sister, be like, hey, what are you using my toaster for?
Yeah, you're probably right about that. I probably have created a problem, because if it's a birthday present for Olivia, when Eva wants to toast something, and she enjoys toast as much as anybody else, I think I'll have to come clean and tell Olivia, look, this is not your toaster. You got to open the toaster. I had you on my mind when I bought the toaster because you destroyed our old one. So we'll have that talk. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But the hate mail, by the way, is not about the toaster. I mean, not the ones that we will highlight coming up in about, I don't know, when we get 15 minutes or so, we will rip open the hate mail sack. But now's the time of the program when we see what is trending in the Twitterverse.
Masters of the Twitterverse!
Yeah, these are trending topics and viral stories. Viral videos, debates, top news stories. I mean, it's all trending on the old Twitter. You can go on thetwitter.com and follow @NationOfJake. That's how you can keep up with me. You can send some hate tweets if you want, if you'd like. I don't know why you would. Also, Bud the producer is along for the ride. And now, let's see, he's at Bud Motormouth, by the way, at Bud Motormouth. One of the stories on Twitter we've been following all week, a scary situation on Monday night in the NFL matchup between the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals. The Buffalo Bills safety, Damar Hamlin, as you've probably read, suffered a cardiac arrest after a hit to the chest, and he had to be resuscitated right there on the field. The game was postponed and then subsequently canceled. They're not going to make up that game between the Bills and the Bengals. And from what I understand, that has kind of created a little bit of a mess with the playoff picture. I don't really pay as much attention to the regular season in the NFL. I might dip into the playoffs, right? But I'm not really into the NFL anymore. But we do have good news. Damar Hamlin is speaking with the team after his breathing tube was removed. He has this is a major health update from the Buffalo Bills. The Bills said Hamlin spoke to the team via FaceTime this morning. Positive news regarding Damar Hamlin's health condition continued today with the Buffalo Bills team announcing that the breathing tube was removed overnight. He was finally able to speak with his team and the medical staff providing his care. The Bills provided another major update on Hamlin after he suffered that cardiac arrest during the Monday night matchup with the Bengals. Per the physicians at the UCMC, that would be the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, Damar's breathing tube was removed overnight. He continues to progress remarkably in his recovering. His neurologic function remains intact, and he has been able to talk to his family and care team. The Bills also confirmed reports that Hamlin joined the team meeting on Friday morning via FaceTime and shared an important message, which was, "Love you, boys." So the team, look, this is a situation where I think things have been changing in the NFL for a while. We've got Mike on the Rick's Powder Coating text line. He's asking some very pointed questions, saying, why did the NFL decide to postpone and subsequently cancel this game when you've had spinal cord injuries, debilitating injuries, life-threatening injuries in NFL games all over the years? I mean, for a long time, and they've never felt like they had to cancel a game or postpone the game or stop play. And that's an interesting point. I don't know what the protocol is going to be from here forward, but this does seem to change things a little bit. I think that the concern for the rest of the game was the reaction from both teams. Both teams full of players were out on the field. This man did not just suffer an injury. His heart stopped. I mean, he essentially, I guess, clinically died right there on the field. There are a lot of people who want to, bring in the vaccine and some of the, stories you've heard about heart problems as a result of the COVID shot. Again, I mean, we don't know. We don't know what we don't know yet about whether there was a pre-existing condition or something that was a congenital heart defect that was not caught. I mean, it's easy to miss those things. But with regards to how the NFL handled it, I guess, you have to look at the reaction from the other players. because I think that was the concern. You had grown men out there who were distraught, who were crying, their teammate, in some cases their opponent. These guys were shaken up. And so I guess the NFL decided at that point that, hey, we are not going to have these guys continue a game under these circumstances. Now, whether you agree with it or not, maybe it's a new direction for the NFL. They've been under a lot of scrutiny with regards to mental health. I mean, over the years, you've had not only, the safety issues, but then the CTE, a lot of different things. But it's just it's a changing world, changing perspectives on things. I guess there will have to be some sort of rules made about this, won't there? I mean, I guess it's different if a guy has a scary incident, but, you always look for it as a spectator. When you're at any sporting event, really at any level, you wait for that reaction from the player. Are they conscious? Are they alert? A lot of the time, if they can give you the thumbs up, that's reassuring. And that's when people, start clapping, and hollering and, give the standing ovation for a hurt player. I guess it's going to be about how serious was the injury? What is the mental state, the condition of the other players? Is it fair? Is it right to have them continue the game under those circumstances? It might be a case-by-case basis. I do not know. But hey, this is good news, though. I mean, this is great news that this guy is neurologically intact, breathing on his own. He's up talking, he's communicating. And so that's a win. That's a win for Damar Hamlin. So good news in the Twitterverse today. Bud the producer, what you got?
So it looks like Joe Rogan beat cancel culture. We saw that whole thing going down with Neil Young earlier last year, but the numbers are in. He closed out 2022 as the #1 podcaster for like the third year in a row.
Uncancelable is Joe Rogan. And you know what? That's the thing about it. Joe Rogan and guys like him, they don't depend on anybody. Now, it's easy for a guy like Joe Rogan, who is a multimedia star before he started his podcast, easier, I should say, to do that. Guys like Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, and the like, who have kind of made a name for themselves in traditional media, being on TV, having their shows, whether with Joe Rogan, it was, News Radio, then Fear Factor, and he had his, one foot in the UFC, and then his podcast.
He got on podcasting early, like 2013.
Right. Yeah, it was Joe Rogan, Adam Carolla, and those guys who were really like the first podcast giants, pioneers of the medium. But Joe Rogan, he's got his own audience, so much so that Spotify saw the value in it and gave him a boatload of money.
And I think they know too that if he were to leave Spotify, there'd be a bunch of platforms just lining up to take him. So it wouldn't really, it wouldn't really serve anything for them. They'd lose a lot of people from their platform just out of disgust or because, for kicking them off. So they figured to weather the storm, and it worked.
Well, these guys got on it early, and they developed a small but dedicated following, and that small but dedicated following became eventually a large dedicated following. And they are the product. He's like, Joe Rogan really embodies that old phrase by, I forget which rapper said it. So I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Like, he is the product. He's the guy. So he doesn't care. He's not really affected by all these outside forces. So good for Joe Rogan. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, where's Neil Young right now? Like, he's not in any news. Nobody's talking about Neil Young. Nobody's up in arms. Spotify still has about as many subscribers as they had before. Their stock's not doing well, but a lot of stocks aren't doing well. So yeah, good for old Joe Rogan. All right, getting back into this House Speaker thing. The name Matt Gaetz is trending. All right, now he's one of the holdouts. We've gotten news that today a 13th vote on the House floor for Speaker. Kevin McCarthy was unable to get the votes necessary to become Speaker, but he's getting closer. And from what I understand, depending on how many congressmen are present, that determines how many votes Kevin McCarthy needs. Last I checked, there were 6 holdouts, but I think that he only needs to flip 2 of those holdouts. One of them is probably not going to be Matt Gaetz. All right, Matt Gaetz out of Florida, controversial House member. He's a bit of a firebrand. He got accused of human trafficking or something like that, or sex trafficking, but I think that the DOJ is recommending no charges on that because The witnesses aren't credible. But also, he's a jokester. He likes to get a lot of attention, kind of a grandstander, not somebody that I really appreciate all that much. But I will give him this. He's pretty funny. He is pretty funny. He actually followed up on an inquiry. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but now his name is trending because of all this stuff. He wrote a letter asking the architect of the Capitol, I guess whoever is the guy in charge of offices, why is Kevin McCarthy occupying the Speaker's office? He doesn't have the votes to be Speaker. He has not been voted Speaker. Why is it that he is in the Speaker's office, and is he considered a squatter? You can check out. I will retweet it just so you can see it for yourself. But it's like a full-on letter, and so now Matt Gaetz, as one of the holdouts, a lot of people are speculating that there's going to be some retribution. How outspoken he's been on the House floor. Things like this. The speech that he made today about Kevin McCarthy, not having earned the speakership because he does not have the votes. That's going to go against Matt Gaetz. Should Kevin McCarthy get the speakership, and I think a lot of people think he will. His name is trending. If you haven't seen that clip, here's what Matt Gaetz had to say today.
Speaker, my colleague from California, Mr. Garcia, knows the incredibly high regard I hold him in. He is a patriot. I deeply, deeply admire him. But I must take some exception with some of the comments he made in his nomination of Mr. McCarthy. First, he said that Mr. McCarthy has earned the position. You only earn the position of Speaker of the House if you can get the votes. Mr. McCarthy doesn't have the votes today. He will not have the votes tomorrow, and he will not have the votes next week, next month, next year. And so one must wonder, Madam Clerk, is this an exercise in vanity for someone who has done the math, taken the counts, and is putting this institution through something that absolutely is avoidable?
When you make comments like that, you can't be one of the guys who flips. If you say something like that about Kevin McCarthy, that he won't have the votes today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, you can't flip around and then vote for him. Your credibility, if you had any at all, would be shot 100%. So that's why Matt Gaetz' name is trending. That's something to look at, though, in this next Congress. Should Kevin McCarthy get those votes and become Speaker, what happens to Matt Gaetz? Will he get reprimanded, slap on the wrist? Will he be taken off any committees that he's on? We shall see. Bud, bring us home from the Twitterverse.
So this is kind of weird. We got this article circulating from Not the Bee. Now, they're associated with the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee puts out satire like this one today, Nation in Shock as Politicians Show Up for Work 4 days in a Row. But this one is an actual. This is like what they do. The Not the Bee is where they do like their actual news articles. And apparently in Louisiana, as of January 1st, you have to scan an ID to access pornographic websites, like a government issued ID. It's being done to curtail kids having access to it. But as you can imagine, this is angering a lot of people because people don't want their data associated with what they're searching for online.
Right, and I think that's kind of the point, is to deter people from being able to get on and do that, which, if it's a deterrent for minors to view harmful material, I get it. I get the intent there, but all it's going to do is going to make the minor take his mom or dad's ID and scan it.
Yeah, or just get VPNs. The VPNs are going to get popular in that state.
Exactly. So you can go in from somewhere else, so to speak. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's kind of like a solution looking for a problem. I mean, you're not really going to be able to cut down on that kind of thing. People will find a way to get that. But I think really what you're going to have is kids who want to go online and look at adult material. They're going to bypass whatever kind of obstacles you put in front of them by procuring their mom or dad's ID, and then you open yourself up to all kinds of things. I mean, identity theft. So that's...
they're apparently not supposed to retain the material, but how do you police that? And then on top of that, now you're going to have kids probably going to sketchier and sketchier websites, downloading all kind of virus.
What, the dark web?
Yeah.
And they call it the dark web.
Literally, the first comment is a guy recommending using a Tor browser. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, the BitTorrents and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess you could download things. I don't know, man. That's like wild, wild west out there. The hackers and the computer nerds are always going to be ahead of the government. Always. All right. That's the Twitterverse, 6830989. That's the Rick's Powder Coating text line. As you voted for hate mail, we're going to do it. We'll rip open the hate mail sack next, right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, time to rip open the hate mail sack. You know, sometimes I get love letters. Other times I get hate mail. I got some love letters the other day. I'll share those with you a little bit later in the programs. I like getting the love letters, fine, but we get more hate mail here because everybody's got opinions, and people sometimes only half listen to the program, and they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I didn't say that. I didn't say that." They go, "Oh, my bad." So let's see what the hate mail is today. Rip open the sack here. This was a hate mail by snail mail. Got here fast. It says Prince Harry is being unfairly attacked by, quote, the institution, end quote, of the royal family. All the anti-Harry and Meghan propaganda is coming from the Crown. Watch the Netflix documentary, exclamation point. That comes from Lauren. Did I attack Prince Harry? Bud, have I been attacking Prince Harry?
I would say it's more indifference.
Yeah, I don't care about the royal family. I mean, listen, I think it's kind of disingenuous to tell me to watch the Netflix documentary to get like the real story on Harry and Meghan. It's their side of the story that they were paid handsomely to tell. And their whole deal, Harry and Meghan, is that they want to separate from the royal family because they want their privacy. But then they turn around and they sell their lives to Netflix as a documentary. And then Prince Harry's got this book coming out where he's saying all kinds of things. He's talking about fist fights with his brother. He's talking about the first time he had sex with an older woman who may or may not have been Elizabeth Hurley, by the way. I think that she denies it, but it was rumored it was her. He talks about how he did cocaine and didn't like it. And that's where, Vince V had a great text. He's like, that's BS. Anybody who's done cocaine has liked it. He talked about how many people he killed in Afghanistan. I mean, he's spilling it. I think that there's something out here about how Prince Harry had a frostbitten penis. Did you see this, bud? This is...
No.
Yeah, I guess he got a frostbitten wiener. From the New York Post, Prince Harry mocked mercilessly online over his frostbitten wiener. Here we go. What's this story? How did that happen? I mean, what? Let's see. They couldn't wait to poke fun at his freeze willy. I leave to the New York Post. Prince Harry is being ridiculed online after revealing that he suffered a frostbitten todger during a 2011 North Pole trip, which made for a miserable time at the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton. His frosted phallus fiasco was one of many bombshells broken by Page Six after obtaining a copy of the Duke of Sussex's much-hyped memoir, Spare. So you can't claim that you want out of the spotlight of the royal family only to sell your whole life to Netflix and then to Spotify. And by the way, they got $30 million from Spotify, and Harry and Meghan have not recorded one podcast. Unreal. Grifters, man. Hey, let's play Name Drop. I've got some Memphis Tigers tickets for you. 683-0989. Call me now.
DJ, he's been a good dog.
Get him.
What, named after the dog?
The Nation of Jake on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
All right, for the last time, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year!
Yeah, welcome to the third shift of the Nation of Jake. Hour number 3 starts now. Got an open line for Name Drop. 683-0989. Call 901-683-0989 to play Name Drop. I've got a couple of tickets to go see the Memphis Tigers tomorrow at the FedEx Forum. They're taking on, East Carolina, ECU, for a 1 p.m. tip and I've got the tickets for you. All you got to do is play Name Drop. Call 683-0989. Do it now. Do it today. All right, so in a little bit, we're going to talk about children's books. And if you want to text me your favorite children's book, maybe if you have children, grandchildren, or you've got fond memories of a book that you read as a child, I want to hear from you. All right, I need some better suggestions, I guess, than the books that are in my house. My nephew, Walt, last night, he had another episode. He didn't urinate everywhere like he did night before last, but he got kind of scared, and he wanted Uncle Jake to read him a book. So I said, go grab one, and he grabbed an awful book. So I'm going to do a children's book review of The Rainbow Fish. Do you know this book? I'm going to go through it. I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong with this very popular book. It's been out for 30-plus years. I think 30 years, really. The Rainbow Fish been teaching all kinds of terrible lessons to children. And so I read the book to Walt, but I explained to him why the book was terrible. All right, so I'm going to also share that with you. I think it's worth sharing. Also, we will see what the latest is with this speaker situation. Kevin McCarthy still, after 13 rounds, does not have the votes to be speaker, but maybe he'll have him later tonight. Who knows? We'll keep our eyes on that and any late breaking news here on a Friday. So give me a call, 683-0989, because we got to get the old name drop out of the way if you want these Memphis Tigers tickets. So let's get that going. Let's get it. Also, oh man, we got some more revelations from old Prince Harry, and his book that's out. I guess some of this stuff leaked. I don't understand. Number one, I'm not a big fan of the royals at all. The royal family, it just does not really interest me. What's interesting though is that Prince Harry left the royal family because he didn't like it anymore. He kind of gave up his lineage. They still call him the Duke of Sussex, and I guess the Duchess. I guess they keep their titles, but there's like $34 billion some odd dollars that they will not be able to access. And I think there are people who are thinking that they were kicked out of the royal family and they were all like destitute, like the destitute down and out Duke of Sussex, and it was just simply not true. They're cashing in on their connection to the royal family. But the connection to the royal family is that they don't want to be part of the royal family. And very, very silly. Very silly. 683-0989. Getting some suggestions on these children's books. Children's books. Look, I've had a ton of them. All right, not children, but books. I've had 2 children. One of them turns 9 today. And so I'm looking at some of these suggestions. Steve-O says, I really enjoyed reading Hank the Cowdog books as a kid. I'm unfamiliar with those. I'll put them in the old arsenal for the next time the nephews come and visit. Let's go. We got big life lessons in that bad boy. Oh yeah, you go. The places you'll go by Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss, you can't go wrong. But yeah, my review is not of a book that I like. My children's book reviews, and maybe I'll take some of these titles you guys are sending on the Rick's Powder Coating text line, and you can, you hear me review them as well. I'd like to review the books I haven't read. My big one that I love a lot is Monster at the End of This Book. That is Grover, Sesame Street, one of those little golden books. I like to do that one as Grover. That's a good one. So, still looking for a name drop contestant. If not, we'll just jump into name drop. I'll make Bud do it. That's what I'll make Bud check it. Oh, sorry. We're bouncing all over the place. Trisha writes in Nate the Great. I'm familiar with Nate the Great. And also Amelia Bedelia. Those are classics. I like Amelia Bedelia especially because she does everything literally. When you dust the furniture, she actually puts dust on the furniture. You draw the drapes. She actually takes a pencil and pen and draws the drapes. So you have to really over-communicate with Amelia Bedelia. She's kind of dense, just takes everything so literally, but she makes a mean-ass lemon meringue pie. So that's what I like about old Amelia Bedelia. You know what? Bud, the producer, is our contestant on Name Drop today. Bud, are you ready to play Name Drop?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go with a in-house Name Drop.
Shall we play a game?
What's your name, dude? Nation of Jake's 4 o'clock name drop.
Drop!
On News Talk 98.9.
Say it!
Look, you don't want to play? It's fine. We're going to play anyway. I don't need you. Bud, the producer, you know how Name Drop works, right?
Absolutely, here every day.
Yeah, you're here every day during Name Drop, so I'm just going to play with you. Look, I got the clip pulled. We're all ready to go. This is somebody who was in the news. You listen to the clip, Bud. You listen to that clip, and then you identify who's speaking in the clip, and you drop that name, and then you are going to get those tickets to go see the Memphis Tigers tomorrow. You excited about going to the game?
I'll probably be here working it, but you know, I think this is a good time to point out that I'm not privy to who it is before.
No,
before
you're
you
not.
Play it for our contestant.
No, that's why
I've
do
had
this.
a few people ask me for clues, and I've had to say no. Not only because I wouldn't give them, but I'm not privy to the information.
Right, we don't do a lot of clues here. You know, we want people to earn it here in the Nation of Jake, and you shouldn't want any kind of clues or any kind of unfair advantage. So Bud, I'm going to play this clip. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
I think you saw we made some very good progress. We'll come back tonight, and I believe at that time we'll have the votes to finish this once and for all. It just reminds me of what my father always told me. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And now we have to finish for the American public.
All right, Bud, the producer. Drop that name.
I'm actually going off of context here because I don't know if I'd recognize his voice, but is that Kevin McCarthy?
Mm-hmm.
Drop!
It was a gimme. It was an easy one. And everybody who didn't play today, you just left a pair of Tigers tickets right there on the table. So don't you feel dumb? Yeah, it's Kevin McCarthy. You know, he's saying, we came up a little bit short, made great progress. Now, listen, there were 20-some-odd Freedom Caucus members who decided that they were never going to vote for Kevin McCarthy, and that was yesterday. Something changed today. I guess maybe they made some deals. Maybe they said, hey, we made our point. For whatever reason, 15 or so of them flipped and voted in favor of Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House. But there are still some holdouts, 5 or 6. I guess the big question here is what is going to get these folks to flip? We're talking about the Lauren Boeberts and the Matt Gaetzes and the Matt Rosendales, Bob Good. Who else is on the list? Andy Biggs. These are folks who have been outspoken against the idea, especially Matt Gaetz. He said he doesn't have the votes today, he won't have them tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. I guess there is some maneuvering you can do. You can also vote present, and if you vote present, then it brings the number down. So he doesn't have to have the full 18, or if they don't show up for the vote. So I guess that a guy like Matt Gaetz could relent and just not show up. That way he's not on record as having voted for Kevin McCarthy, or he could vote present. They could do, that's people do all this maneuvering, all this stuff that, it's one of those deals where, man, the House rules, they change from time to time. There's all kinds of maneuvers and things that, we don't think about day to day, that you have to have some sort of somebody who's really familiar with the old rule book to do. But Kevin McCarthy goes on, because, look, he still has to work with these folks. These are folks in his own party. You have to, at some point, decide you're going to work together and get all on the same page for when the real fight begins. When the Republicans actually get sworn in and get down to business, mostly they're going to just be obstructing Joe Biden and the Senate Democrats. But there's also going to be investigations on the House Judicial Committee. That's one of the big reasons that a guy like Jim Jordan has no interest in being Speaker, because Jim Jordan has been kind of the face man for all these investigations into Hunter Biden and whatever else there may be. There may be some Twitter files, some Dr. Fauci hearings coming up, and the House Judicial Committee needs a guy like Jim Jordan to be there because he's the guy who's been there doing the work. He's laid all this groundwork for when the Republicans actually get into the House, get sworn in, and get down to the business of the people. He's going to have to be the guy to spearhead a lot of this stuff, and he can't do that and be Speaker of the House. So Kevin McCarthy's pretty confident that although he doesn't have the votes right now, he'll have them tonight. They're going to adjourn until 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, and I guess they'll have another round of voting. And you know what? You know what's going to happen? Tonight, into the night, they're going to vote Kevin McCarthy for Speaker, and it's going to act like a Friday news dump. So a guy like Matt Gaetz, a gal like Lauren Boebert, they will have an entire weekend as a buffer, and maybe something else will happen, and this won't be huge news into the next week, and they can kind of duck out on either having flipped their votes or not shown up or relented or voted present or whatever it is. Here's more from Kevin McCarthy about how do you move forward after such a contentious round of voting for Speaker.
I think getting together and just finding the ability to how we all going to work together. It's new for us, one, being in the majority, but being in a tight majority. I think at the end of the day, we're going to be more effective, more efficient, and definitely government's going to be more accountable. See, this is the great part. Because it took this long, now we learned how to govern. So now we'll be able to get the job done. Thank you all very much.
I'm not sure if I buy all that. That just sounds like politicians speak to me. Look, if you don't know how to govern, and it takes something like this, 4 days of going round and round and about for you to learn how to govern, what kind of crash course is that? That's all just, it's all it is. All this is political posturing. And so never lose sight of that. It's all just a show, a lot for the cameras, a lot for the deep pockets of those Republican donors. We'll get to the bottom of it, but not during this program today, as the House has adjourned until 10/9 Central. All right, 683-0989, 683-0989. That is the Rick's Powder Coating text line. We'll get to a few of your texts. You know, I just thought of something. You know, going back to this Grizzlies superstar Ja Morant situation, he's being sued by a 17-year-old for allegedly having smacked him around a little bit. We've got some details from the police report of the incident. There's a detail that escaped me until just now, a thought that I have that could be a total game changer in this whole thing, if there's even a game afoot. I'll share that with you next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right, in a little bit.
Yes, have some.
I'm going to do a children's book review. I've done this before. It's something I'm going to bring back. You know, I'm not really reading a lot of children's books these days because my kids, they can read. They read on their own, and they're not small children who need to be read to. Although I did read a book to my kids not long ago, a book called The 21 Balloons. It was read to me when I was like in 5th grade by my teacher at Germantown Middle, Miss Late, and I really loved the book. I thought it was great, and I was like, she read it out loud to us when we were in 5th grade. My kids are about that age, so I figured we would all read it together, and it was a great experience. The 21 Balloons was a lot of fun. So, but as far as like all the little kids' books go, I don't read those often anymore, but my nephew was in town. Walt had quite the adventure. And he woke up in an unfamiliar place, couldn't find the bathroom, decided just to like pee right there. I had to deal with that. But then Walt kind of felt comfortable around me, comfortable enough to wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and ask me to read a book to him. So I'm like, okay, cool, go grab one. And I'm grabbing my glasses and trying to get Walt all calmed down. And then he picks out this book. And I have to read it to him and also explain to him how terrible the book is. And I'm going to share that with you coming up in a little bit. My children's book review of The Rainbow Fish. If you've got any children's books you want me to read and review, let me know. 683-0989. 683-0989. All right, so this story about Ja Morant, who, look, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see Ja Morant be charged with a crime over allegedly beating up a 17-year-old. It sounds like some young men were out hooping and things got a little heated and there was a scuffle, and that's about it. But Ja Morant is being sued by a 17-year-old, and there was an actual police report filed. We have the Shelby County Sheriff's Office released the assault report, which alleges Grizzlies point guard Ja Morant beat a 17-year-old boy in July of 2022. The report was obtained by the Commercial Appeal. It was filed on July 26th by the teen's mother, who told deputies the incident took place earlier that day. According to the report, the victim told deputies he was assaulted while playing basketball at the Morant mansion. The victim alleges Morant got angry and jumped him, striking him in the head and face with a closed fist, and then another guy jumped in, and the 17-year-old did not have to go to the hospital or be transported by ambulance, but the Shelby County Sheriff's Office did note that there was a knot on his head. So, again, a scuffle, between young men playing basketball. I don't think it rises to the level of criminal charges. But I was also thinking about this. You know, there's a lot of questions, actually. It's like, you know, Ja Morant, you are 22 years old. You're still probably very much a kid at heart. You know, most 22-year-olds are still in college around this time. And so, given that, you want to go out, you want to play, you want to be around people, you're likable, you're gregarious, you give back, you give your shoes to young fans. And so this opportunity for a 17-year-old to play ball with Ja Morant, he probably thought he was doing him a favor. But the 17-year-old allegedly threw the ball at Ja's face, hit him in the face, and that set off this whole scuffle. But as far as like the he said, Ja said, where's the video? I mean, wouldn't there be video of this? I'm pretty sure that Ja Morant's castle out in Eads, his estate, big, nice house, probably has surveillance all around. I mean, I would imagine on that high a profile that he would have had a professional come in and install a surveillance system that had every corner of that place under some sort of video surveillance. Wouldn't you think that this thing would be on video, Bud the producer?
Yeah, especially like right on his driveway where he parks his cars. If that's where his
I don't know. He probably has his own basketball court somewhere. I don't know if they're like playing out in the driveway.
I just immediately assumed it would be in a driveway, but I forgot.
Yeah, I know. Look, we're not talking about your house or my house where we've got the basketball hoop with the big thing you fill with water or sand at the bottom and you roll it out in the cove. He's probably got a basketball court at his house, whether it's indoor or outdoor, I don't know. But there has to be some sort of surveillance video of this. Which, look, it would either support Ja Morant, retaliating or feeling threatened, because the story goes, according to Morant, a kid playing basketball at his house, throws a basketball at his face and then bows up on him, and then later threatened to, quote-unquote, light up his house. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think overall it's a scuffle at a basketball game. But because it's Ja Morant, you look at it two ways, that he's got deep pockets. And this young man and his mom, they see that, hey, maybe we can get a payday. Maybe we can get a settlement to make this thing go away. But if there's video, don't you have to take a look at it? Maybe they went a little bit overboard. I don't know. Maybe they did wail on him a little bit too much. I don't know. I was just thinking about that, man. There's video of everything. How is there not video of this? All right. Children's book review, The Rainbow Fish, coming up. All right.
Yes, have some.
As the great Mitch Hedberg once said, any book is a children's book if the kid can read. All right. Oh, he went too soon, didn't he, Mitch Hedberg? He was so brilliant. But yes, any book is a children's book if the kid can read. It's been a long time since I got into children's books. My children are 11 and 9. Actually, Olivia is 9 today, so happy birthday to my little Livy Lou. We're going to have a big time. I think we're going to go hit up the hibachi. I think we're going to go do the hibachi tonight. She loves that onion volcano. So we're going to do that. But I got back into the children's books over the week. We had some extended house guests from the holidays, namely my nephew Walt, his sister, my niece Carter, and then their little brother Wyatt, who I call Quiet Wyatt because he doesn't say a lot. He's a baby. But then when he's not quiet, when he's loud crying, it's kind of like an ironic nickname. Quiet Wyatt. It works. So I was hanging out mostly with Walt and his sister Carter. Walt, though, he really loved how I read The Monster at the End of This Book, the old Grover book, the Sesame Street book, because I do a pretty good Grover. Near, far, near, far. There's a monster at the end of this book. So they like the theatrics of it all. So I became the go-to guy for reading books. And I like a lot of these books, man. I like Dr. Seuss. You got Yertle the Turtle, the Sneetches, Too Many Daves. Some great lessons in those books. Yertle the Turtle, just trying to be too high and mighty, Yertle the Turtle did. And you got the Sneetches, about, accepting yourself for who you are, Starbelly or not. And Too Many Daves, the inconvenience if you name 23 of your kids Dave. It could cause a lot of confusion. So I like a lot of these books. If there's children's books that you like, I want to know. I'll review them. I'll decide whether or not I like them. And yeah, there's classics. There's Amelia Bedelia. They got some newer stuff like the Pinkalicious books. They're perfectly fine. But Walt, little Walt, he went and grabbed a book I guess he just judged it by its cover because it's actually a very nice cover. This book is called The Rainbow Fish. Bud, have you ever read The Rainbow Fish?
No, I don't have kids, and I haven't been one for a while.
Okay, well, The Rainbow Fish has been out since 92. What year were you born, Bud?
85.
85? I guess you were a little old for it. Okay, it came out, some years ago. It's got a nice cover, hardback, a fish on it, all kinds of colors, and these silver shimmery scales. This is by a guy named Marcus Pfister, The Rainbow Fish. And I hate this book. This book is awful and insidious and has a horrible message. Now, if we are to read the back of the book, I was shocked to find this book costs $18.95. $18.95 for this book, because I guess it's just, mostly all the cost is in the cover and the presentation. But it says here on the back, The Rainbow Fish is an international bestseller and a modern classic. Eye-catching foil stamping, glittering on every page, offers instant child appeal, but it is the universal message at the heart of this simple story about a beautiful fish who learns to make friends by sharing his most prized possessions that gives the book its lasting value. Okay, interesting. Doesn't sound bad, does it? It's evil. This book is evil. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to read it to you, and I'm also going to interject my commentary on why I think this book is evil. All right, we open it up. We see this shimmering, beautiful fish. Marcus Pfister, The Rainbow Fish, and this is dedicated to Brigitte. All right, I think Marcus Pfister's from Switzerland or something like that. Here we go. The Rainbow Fish. A long way out in the deep blue sea, there lived a fish. Not just an ordinary fish, but the most beautiful fish in the entire ocean. His scales were every shade of blue and green and purple, with sparkling silver scales among them. All right, does sounds beautiful. The other fish were amazed at his beauty. They called him Rainbow Fish. Come on, Rainbow Fish, they would call. Come and play with us. But the Rainbow Fish would just glide past, proud and silent, letting his scales shimmer. All right. So the Rainbow Fish is a bit of a loner. He doesn't really want to play with the other fish. He doesn't accept their invitation to play. Fine. Some people are like that. Let him be. Whatever. One day, a little blue fish followed after him. Rainbow Fish, he called. Wait for me. Please give me one of your shiny scales. They are so wonderful, and you have so many. Like, okay, that seems kind of weird, doesn't it? Give me one of your scales? Aren't the scales on a fish part of the fish? Isn't that like the fish's skin? I mean, I guess I don't know what the reasonable analog to a human would be with scales. It would be either skin or fingernails or hair, right? Hair, skin, or nails. All right, so the Rainbow Fish replies, You want me to give you one of my special scales? Who do you think you are? Cried Rainbow Fish. Get away from me. All right, now, I guess the author of this book thinks that the Rainbow Fish, this makes him look bad. That is a proper response. Bud, the producer, if I came up to you and I said, hey, man, you got a good-looking beard you've been growing out. How about you pluck out a patch of that beard and give it to me?
I think it's even weirder that it's in the form of a demand and not a request.
Yeah, how about this? Hey, Bud, your fingernails are looking pretty healthy, man. How about you yank out one of those fingernails and let me wear it? That would be kind of creepy. You'd probably have the same response.
Discomfort.
Yeah.
I don't think I can make eye contact with you after that.
So the Rainbow Fish says, get away from me. Get out of here, kid. You're bothering me. Shocked, the little blue fish swam away. He was so upset, he told all his friends what had happened. From then on, nobody would have anything to do with the Rainbow Fish. They turned away when he swam by. I'd be like, good. If these are the kind of people who want me to rip off my skin, my hair, my nails, and give it to them so they can wear it, that's like Buffalo Bill Silence of the Lambs stuff. These guys are psychopaths. Here we go. The Rainbow Fish, though, nobody would have anything to do with them. And so what good were the dazzling, shimmering scales with no one to admire them? Now he's the loneliest fish in the entire ocean. One day he poured out his troubles to the starfish. I really am beautiful. Why doesn't anybody like me? Now, granted, the rainbow fish might be a little bit of a narcissist, and that is he's a flawed hero. All right, I'm not saying the rainbow fish is perfect. He's a little bit conceited, but I'm going to give him that. I mean, he is beautiful. He's born that way. He can't help it. Let's see. I can't answer that for you, says the starfish. But if you go beyond the coral reef to a deep cave, you will find the wise octopus. Maybe she can help you. All right. The rainbow fish found the cave. It was very dark inside, and he couldn't see anything. And suddenly, two eyes caught him in the glare of the octopus emerged from the darkness. All right, so this octopus is very wise, going to give him the advice he needs. I've been waiting for you, said the octopus with a deep voice. The waves have told me your story. This is my advice. Give a glittering scale to each of the other fish. You will no longer be the most beautiful fish in the sea, but you will discover how to be happy. What? So this mysterious octopus tells the rainbow fish to engage in self-mutilation and start giving your skin, hair, nails, whatever it is, to the other fish, so they'll like him. So not only is it encouraging self-mutilation, it's also sending the message that, people won't be your friend unless you give them something. And that's not right. And here we go, rainbow fish. I can't, the rainbow fish started to say, but the octopus had already disappeared in a dark cloud of ink. Give away my scales? My beautiful shining scales? Never. How could I ever be happy without them? And I'm with the rainbow fish on here 100%. I don't want to rip out my toenails. That sounds awful. I've had to do that before, and it's not fun. Suddenly, he felt the light touch of a fin. The little blue fish was back. Rainbow fish, please don't be angry. I just want one little scale. Yeah, just your pinky toenail. The rainbow fish wavered. Only one very small, shimmery scale, he thought. Well, maybe I wouldn't miss just one. Oh, my God. Carefully, the rainbow fish pulled out the smallest scale and gave it to the little fish. Thank you very much, the little blue fish bubbled playfully as he tucked the shiny scale in among his blue ones. A rather peculiar feeling came over the rainbow fish. For a long time, he watched the little blue fish swim back and forth with his new scale glittering in the water. This is gross. The little blue fish whizzed through the ocean with his scale flashing, so it didn't take long for the other rainbow fish was surrounded by the other fish. It didn't take long before the rainbow fish was surrounded by everybody else, because if you give one to the little fish, you got to give one to everybody. Everyone wanted a glittering scale. The rainbow fish shared his scales left and right, and the more he gave away, the more delighted he became. When the water around him filled with glimmering scales, he at last felt home among the other fish. It's socialism. Everybody has to be the same. You know what? If you're born and you're exceptional and you're beautiful, well, no, you can't be happy that way. You have to give of yourself to make everybody else equal. So now I'm looking at 2 pages in this god-awful book, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fish, all with one beautiful shimmering scale apiece. So it is, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. This is a Marxist, communist, garbage book that teaches kids to self-mutilate and that nobody will be their friend unless they do so. Finally, the rainbow fish had only one shining scale left. His most prized possessions had been given away, yet he was very happy. Come on, rainbow fish, they called. Come and play with us, now that you've paid us off. Good Lord. Here I come, said the rainbow fish, and happy as a splash, he swam off to join his friends. That's the book. That is the book. This is the kind of... Look, I get it, man. Sharing is caring, or caring is sharing, or whatever the hell garbage you want to teach children. But this is the wrong way to do it. And I told Walt all of this. What I just read to you and explained to you is exactly how I presented this garbage content to the 4-year-old nephew who peed on my floor the other night. This is a terrible, terrible book. It's the worst. But this Marcus Pfister fella, Marxist Pfister, this guy has made probably millions of dollars. I don't know what he's doing with his millions of dollars. I hope that with all his millions of dollars with his best-selling book, people wouldn't be his friend unless they gave him $1 million. Hey, Marcus, you wrote your Rainbow Fish book. You made millions of dollars. I'm not going to be friends with you unless you give me your millions of dollars. Oh, and also, by the way, how about you pluck a couple of teeth out of your head and give me those and let me wear them as a necklace around my neck because you got beautiful teeth. This is awful. Now, granted, I don't know that 4-year-old Walt was ready for my commentary on the book, and his father asked me that I not read to him anymore, and unless he was present. So that's the book review of The Rainbow Fish. Bud, am I off base here?
I mean, I'm no connoisseur of children's books, but I'm picking up what you're putting down about this communist message.
You need to correct that. This is all. There are people on the Rick's Powder Coating text line who are familiar with this book, and I want to. Is this a book that your kids or grandkids read? Is this because when my kids, when I read it to them, I thought I'd burned it. I thought I had thrown it away. I'm not a book burner, man. I'm not into that kind of stuff. But this book right here, this is like entry-level Communist Manifesto Karl Marx stuff. This is the worst book I've ever read in my life. I despise this book. I'm not even going to give it away. That's the thing. I don't want to give it away because I don't want any other child to be exposed to that. Because this is not a book that has a good message. You know, all this sharing is caring kind of stuff on the surface, that's great. But think about it. Number one, these fish won't be friends with the rainbow fish because he won't give them his scales, and that promotes self-mutilation. That's becoming a problem right now. And then also you can't be happy among everyone unless everybody has the same. That's not true either. Terrible message, awful, I hate it. So there's my children's book review of The Rainbow Fish. Don't read it. Don't let your kids read it. If it's in your house, lock it away. Lock it away, or get rid of it. Just don't. I'm not gonna condone burning books. All right, I'm not a book burner, a book banner. Well, just don't let your kids near that book. Or better yet, if they have the book, read it to them with the commentary akin to what I just did in my book review. Explain to them why that book is garbage. Terrible. 683-0989. 683-0989. If there's any children's books you want me to review, I'll read them. I've got the time. All right. We're going to get to your texts. We will also see if there's any late breaking news here for the Friday news dump. And we'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake. All right.
Yes, have some.
Friday news dump at the Nation of Jake. That's right. Anything right now that's breaking is a news dump story. We'll keep our eye on it. Also, the Rick's Powder Coating text line kind of blowing up right now with the children's book suggestions. I just gave you my review. I read and reviewed simultaneously The Rainbow Fish. His book's terrible. It's one of the worst children's books of all time. It's got bad messages of both self-mutilation and communism, really. It's terrible. Don't read it to your children. Let's see. We've got some texts here on the Rick's Powder Coating text line on this subject. Bud the producer, what do we got?
So we got one here that says, pick up some picture books. That way you can tell your own non-communist stories.
Yeah, why not? Just, look, there's plenty of people out there doing children's content that is patriotic, that is in favor of the free market, but you got to dig and you got to find them. A lot of the classics, the things that you get as gifts, when you're a new parent, you're going to get these books that are on display, and you see a cover, The Rainbow Fish. How can that be insidious? Well, it is. Terrible messages in this one. Anything else here?
The pigeon finds a hot dog.
Oh, the pigeon. Yeah, man. That's those guys. What's that guy's name? Mo Willems? Yeah. Don't let the pigeon drive the bus. Don't let the pigeon eat the cookies or whatever it is. The pigeon book's pretty good. Those are fun. I like those. Let's see. We've got Krista on the Rick's Powder Coating text line in reference to The Rainbow Fish. That horrible children's book needs to be banned. It's like a primer for socialism and self-abuse. There you have it. I like it. I mean, that was my takeaway. What do we got? Bill on the line? Bill! Let's get, hey, Bill, what's happening?
What's up, man?
Just kicking it, bagging on the rainbow fish.
I haven't seen that book, and I will not let my kids read it. Here's it's made me think of a good example. Christmas. My two young kids, and then I have two nieces and nephews that are about the same age. They're all between the age of 6 and 4. Yep. One of mine just literally opened the Christmas present, and niece was there and said, oh, I want to play with that. And she's like, well, I just opened it. It's my present. No, I want to play with it. So my wife said, wait, hold on. Let her play with it. You have to share. I'm like, wait a minute. That just don't seem right. It's her present. She literally just opened it, but now she has to turn around and let somebody else play with it first? That makes no sense to me at all. And it's literally like the same thing. There's all this, they're being brainwashed in school, and it's just so obvious, this stuff about you don't deserve anything. If somebody else wants it, you need to give it to them to make them feel good. It's not fair that you feel good. And I mean, that book, they hit me right there. It made me think about that exactly. And it bothered me so much. We got an argument over it, but I'm like, there's no reason. If you get a present, you need to play with it first. Then if you want to share, that's cool. But that doesn't make sense that you have to give away something you literally just opened to somebody else because they like it. That's complete backwards. But
you're absolutely right, Bill. I went through this as well. It's like you always have this whole, you have to share. And it's like, wait a second. No, if you want to share, then you should share. It should be voluntary. Right. So the kid, the niece or nephew who got the present, it should be their decision on whether or not they want to share and when they want to share. It shouldn't be an outside force, some sort of authority figure. I mean, that's really it, man. I guess, what did you say? It was your wife who made the kid with the new present share it immediately?
It was my kid. He shared it with her same age niece, and I'm like, it hit me wrong. I'm like, wait, this isn't right, because now my daughter got mad because her present that she really wanted, she really wanted this present, and so she opened it. She was happy. And then all of a sudden, she didn't even get to play with it. She had to give it to somebody else and watch them play with the toy she'd been anticipating literally 6 months.
It's garbage.
And I'm like, this is crazy. This makes no sense.
Who made this call, Bill? Who made the call on this?
My wife, and I think she felt guilty. And I'm like, no, you don't. You shouldn't feel guilty for enjoying something you get. If you get something good, be happy about it. And then if you want to share with somebody afterwards, share with it, but decide, like you said, make that your decision, not being forced to, give it away. And that literally is socialism, communism. It's like, you have something good, you need to share it with everybody. It's not right. You feel happy. No, you have to let everybody else get a piece of that happiness of yours.
Man, Bill, you're really fired up, dude. Look, Bill, I'm just gonna give you some advice on the front end here. Bill, hold on, man. It's cheaper to keep her, okay? It's cheaper to keep her.
Pretty much, but yeah.
I'm just telling you.
That's why I held it off to your show. I held it to your show.
Yeah. Look, man, I'm with you 100%. I got two daughters. They're very close in age. They're 11 and 9. Olivia is 9 today. She's gonna get a bunch of gifts. Her sister just turned 11 a few weeks ago. She got a bunch of gifts, and I tell them all the time, if you've got something, it is yours, and you don't have to share it with anyone unless you want to.
Let me give you this advice. I have 7 kids, actually.
Good Lord.
Older kids as well. As a dad, always buy something for the daughter that the mom doesn't want you to get, but never let her know you got it for the daughter.
Okay.
Then you don't have to worry. The daughter will love you more. You ain't got to worry about nothing ever.
I'm into it. All right, bud. Hey, Bill, we'll talk to you later, man. Thanks for the call. I love the passion here because I'm with you 100%. Sharing is caring, but only if you want to share. If not, you're forced. Forced charity is anything but. Terrible. The government does. All right, I'm out of here for the weekend. We'll be back Monday at 2. So long, and thanks for all the fish, but not the rainbow fish.